Welcome to the Predictive Playbook, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. We're at Manny's Irish Virtual Pub, and I have my good friend and pal Joe D'Amico in the house again, twice in the same week. He took a 1 week leave of absence, and he just couldn't stand to be away from me in these shows because he's convinced me that I rank higher than Merv Griffin and some other guy that I don't think was all that famous. I didn't recognize his name, but I say that tongue-in-cheek, of course. Welcome to the show, Joe. How's your Friday going?
Everything is great, John. Thanks
awesome.
for having me. Excited to finish off the week with you. I really appreciate you dealing with me, with my sore throat, my hoarse voice. You know, on my best day, I could give aspirin a headache. But today, right now, I know there's a lot of people out there turning their mics and turning their phones down as they're watching us. I'm sure somebody is getting their Christmas wish early. I'm losing my voice.
Well, the feedback I got from the show yesterday was all positive. They kind of liked the raspiness of the sound of your voice, so it's all good. Yeah. So we're going to talk NFL. You know, and I love it. You know, it's still a ways off, but there are some games that, even Mr. Finn, who I think will be showing up here today, he's actually put out a play already. There's a premium pick that he basically says that, you better get it now because that line's going to move. And there are reasons to bet week one, and I think week one only now, because there is a lot of information out there that could lend itself to getting a very good number. The team that comes to mind right now is the Packers. And I know that you're not on that game, but I just have a gut feeling, and it's only a gut feeling. And sometimes when I have a gut feeling, I just throw up. But like your story at the circuit that you shared with us yesterday. But my gut just tells me that Rodgers is not playing at maybe for the whole season, but I'm not sure if he can come in week 4 after they get something done or some kind of agreement. But it just doesn't seem. I lean towards the side that he's not going to play. And if he doesn't play, that line's going to move an absolute ton.
Well, John, it seems like every offseason there's at least one major melodrama, in the NFL. And these past months, it's been the Aaron Rodgers thing. It seemed like every few days there was a new rumor. Some other sports brand coming out with, hey, this is this and that's that and here's that and here's this. There's a lot of rumors, and rumors are like opinions, as we know. And we hey, on any given day, I hear 3 or 4 rumors about me, and I get a kick out of them. But I think Aaron Rodgers, obviously coming off the season he has at the age that he is, amazing. I think he has the tools at his disposal, and I think the team itself, especially the way the NFC is structured right now, they could go very far, but we don't know for sure what's going to happen in the opening weeks with him.
Yep, I agree. And let's move to your game. Let's talk about this game. This is the Arizona Cardinals visiting Tennessee Titans, and this is going to take place on September the 12th. September 12th. It's a Sunday, and the Cardinals. 1 o'clock start. It's going to be on CBS TV. Nissan Stadium, Nashville, Tennessee. Tennessee right now is -3 and an over-under of about 51.5, depending on where you look. So make sure you shop. A lot of us like to look at Penny, which is Pinnacle. They're truly a non-square book. They take a lot of big bets, and Heritage is another one that takes the sharp action, as they call it. Mm-hmm. So where are you going with this game, Joe? I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Well, John, I want our viewers and listeners out there to know that we are a very long way away from week 1 of NFL football. And sports betting, guys, things can change significantly in a matter of minutes, let alone weeks. Anything can happen between now and then. Holdouts, players not in game shape, rookies not grasping a new playbook, teams that aren't gelling, head coaches and new systems, and, of course, the killer of all killers, injuries. As John mentioned, one matchup that did right now stand out to me was the Arizona-Tennessee contest. If you're a trends better, guys, I wouldn't put too much stock in the fact that Arizona has covered the last 4 meetings. Why? I'm going to tell you why. The most recent meeting was in 2017, and the prior 3 meetings span almost a decade. So to me, it doesn't hold any water. If you're looking at it fast, if you're scanning it over, oh, they covered the last 4. Here's something. Look a little closer. On paper, the Cardinals had some impressive numbers a season ago, but their quarterback is still a baby in the league. Their top ball carrier moved on to Sin City. Okay, the backfield is replenished a few things, but things take time. One thing that does really stand out to me about this Cardinal teams, it's not just last year, it's not the last half of last year, it's every year they turn the ball over a lot. Their defense is questionable. Also, not very good in takeaways themselves. Sports fans in this league, turnovers, as you know, are extremely harmful. But when your offense does tend to turn the ball over and your defense can't create turnovers, it's not harmful. It's fatal. As if you recall, last year the Titans began the season 5-0. They beat some very good teams and battled in some tough losses. Their offense ranked in the top 5 in most major categories, including what we just talked about, turnovers. They don't make many mistakes. They got their 2,000-yard rusher back. Tannehill, veteran. No, he's not explosive, but guys, he's a smart guy. They added a big name guy. Julian Jones for the Arsenal. So he can throw to him. He's got another weapon, a major weapon. Someone that defenses have to key on. Neither team was money for us bettors, but Arizona was absolute point spread poison, guys. They finished this season 2-7 against the number the last 9 games. Sports fans, no one, even Cardinal fans, do not expect this team to finish better than dead last in the division. Here's something funny, guys. The Titans can catch the AFC South favorite Colts looking. These teams play each other a lot, and the Colts have a tougher schedule because they fared well this year. This is a talented team. No glitz, no glamour, just plain old run the ball up the middle, pass off the run offense, hit them hard on defense. What I did, a lot of things you got to look at when you with football, particularly in college, but in NFL, look ahead games. The following week, the Titans have the Seahawks, who are a very good team this year. And to me, it's their do or die. If they don't get there this year, that's it. They're done. They have them on deck. So this isn't not a look-ahead game to me, but this is a situation where they have to get in sync as a team here and get everything going before their following week. The number here, now John mentioned there's a lot of threes around. There are a lot of threes around, but there are several 2.5s around. And as the handicapper who's leaning on the Titans here, I'm going to go with that 2.5 under a field goal. This team at home has too much talent on offense and some very exciting new acquisitions on defense. At 2.5, I like Tennessee here, guys. Once again, this is something even before we see preseason action that stands out to me. This game is something I don't see this number staying the same once the season starts. If everyone stays healthy, but right now, if I had to bet this game, I'd take the Titans minus 2.5.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great to talk football. It's just so good now. It feels pretty normal.
John, I'm not gonna listen. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but just yesterday I was looking at these things, preparing for today's show with you. I was getting excited. I put on my jersey. I put the black under my eyes. I put a helmet on. I put my cleats on. I even went and got my old jock strap. I'm excited for football, John. Listen, we love football, you and I. Everybody loves football. Listen, office pools, grandmothers, college kids, everybody loves football. Listen, I can remember some of my first few fights in grade school were about whose team is better. You know why? Because we love football. Baseball is still our pastime. It's a great sport. It's the great, but everybody bets football and loves football. A few years back, I was doing a TV spot, and somebody says, and this is really with the explosion of offshore betting and online betting. that. They said, well, how many people you think bet football, baseball? I said, 25 years ago, you get 100 bettors in a room, maybe 20 bet baseball, maybe 60 bet basketball, but all 100 bet football. And that was 20 plus years ago. Now it's even more on all levels, but football's the be-all, end-all when it comes to sports watching, sports betting, because this is what we love, whether you're college, whether you're pro. But this is going to be a great season, both at the collegiate and the professional levels.
I agree. If you have time, Joe, I have one question for you. You know, there's a lot of speculation, and it's really not speculation at this point. Texas and Oklahoma are going to lead the Big 12. And apparently the announcement comes Monday. And I'm trying to piece this together in my head initially. I'm going to take the weekend to really sort it through. But what would prevent then the Big 10, who is a very wealthy conference? Big 12 last year had $408 million in 408 million in revenue, and that pales in comparison to the SEC, of course, which I think was almost double. But then you had the Big 10, and that's wealth that is a monster number. So what would prevent the Big 10 going after a Clemson? They would have Maryland in the Big 14 is what it is. There's 14 teams in the Big 10, and I believe there's 10 teams in the Big 12. So it's a kind of a twister there. But what would prevent these conferences from really just going after the ACC, which has been so weak?
Well, I think the only thing that would have prevented this conference in the last few years was the fact that Clemson was such a powerhouse. But right now, they've lost. I mean, they lost some key players, and that conference isn't like the SEC. It's not like Alabama. It's not like Ohio State. No matter who they lose, they got 5 more guys behind them. They're just a little bit younger. A lot of people are looking at Clemson to step down this year. I think they're still got a smart coach and a lot of talent, a great line. But Oklahoma's a very, very good team. I don't think there's anything to stop them from going after them. The only thing that would stop them is possibly the powers that be.
It's going to be interesting to see on Monday what they actually announce. And I think Manny forgot that I had the show today and running the sweeper in the background, so I hope that's not too loud there. Hopefully you can't even hear it, but it's okay.
Well, they got to pick up all the teeth and bottle caps that are on the floor in the bar.
Yeah, and that's from the last 5 days. That's how this place runs here. It's an East Coast Irish pub,
Gotta love it.
The floors don't get cleaned too often around here. Once in a while somebody's body is used to clean it, but that's about once a month. You know how it is, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. I miss those days. I'm getting old now, John. I turned 52 just a few weeks ago, and I do miss those days. But just the other day, I was driving home from the Strip, and it was early in the morning because I had to pick up some things and go whatnot, do my shopping around, and I saw the people still from out, the younger generation still out from last night, walking around just as you were saying, cleaning up the floors, the girls with the heels in the hands, the guys like moping. Although I don't miss those days, I do miss those days. But at 52, what am I going to do, buddy? You got to give it up sometime. Even Michael Jordan got a little old towards the end,
Well, they call me Two Beer Johnny over at the golf club for a reason, and a lot of that.
Yeah, but those are 2 cases, I'm told.
I assure you, when I come out to visit, I'll prove to you that there's no chance I could ever drink even maybe more than 10. I mean, if I hit double digits during the course of a day, I think I would be impressed with myself.
Well, I got to tell you that Tony Finn and I went out a couple of weeks ago. We went out at breakfast. I got to tell you this. The guy's a madman. He's a maniac. I walked into every strip club in town with him. They all know him by name. They pull out his stool. They give him his drink in a brown paper. No, I'm just kidding. I love Tony. I'm just having a little fun with him. But, I got to tell you, man, those days are over. Listen, man. I try to stay in shape, if I work out a little too hard, I got to take a nap in like 3 in the afternoon, like Morty Seinfeld. I'm already done for the day. I see my buddy Rob Veno's here, the best looking guy in sports betting and the best hair since Jimmy Johnson coached the Cowboys.
Oh, man.
Rob, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, man. So how about you, buddy? You seem fired up today.
Can I tell you the truth? I've been battling a throat thing for about a week now. So somebody's getting their Christmas present early. But I was so excited that you're coming on the show. I adore you. I love you. And I got to tell you, even it's not just John and the viewers out there. It's not just Rob's in-depth insights on these shows that are just amazing. Even his 2-sentence things that he puts up on social media, the things he could put up in a sentence or two are much, much more valuable to people in the betting world than guys that can write a book about it. I'll tell you right now, Rob, I enjoy everything you write, and I love you, buddy. Best hair since Jimmy Johnson coached the Cowboys, and I got to tell you this. I know a lot about hair.
Truth be told, Joe, I've had the same haircut since I was 5 years old, that I can remember. My father would drag me down to the Italian barber and say, give him the Princeton, and that's what you got. You got the Princeton. 1966, 67. Been having the Princeton ever since. I'm glad it hasn't fallen out yet. I'm about to turn 60 years old, and it hasn't fallen out, so that's a good thing.
My God, look at you. I got to tell you, Tony Finn, 38 years old. He looks like your grandfather. You're going to turn 60. Look at him. I'm just kidding. He's not here, so I just wanted to make light. But
wait a minute now. Is it cold in Las Vegas, dude? You have a hoodie on?
Buddy, I got to tell you, about a week now, I'm battling something. I went to the doctor yesterday. But all good things. Negative on all STDs. No. Rob,
well, that's good to know. That's good to know.
For the first time in years, we got a lot of humidity here, and I actually thought I had a bronchial thing, and turns out the humidity has affected something, post-nasal drip. They got me on an inhaler. They got me on this and that. But literally, I go from hot to cold to cold to hot like a crazy person, which isn't a far leap for me, but you know, I don't know. You know, what can I do? I got to tell you, though, John said, this is what John said to me earlier. He said that he finds my scratchy voice very sexy. That's what he said.
Rob, to clarify this, I mean, that was close. I just said that I got feedback from our chat room and other viewers in the archived edition that they thought the raspy voice was pretty cool. That's all I said. I didn't say anything about being in love with him or like it was sexy.
I think John. Listen. You don't have to backpedal. I get it. Thank you. I love you too. No. Honestly, but John, I think all the people out there like my raspy voice. You know why? Because when I am 100%, they got to turn their mics and their phones all the way down. They're taking aspirin by the bottle. That's how it is. But I can't tell you guys how much and how excited I was to be back on the shows this week with you guys, and how excited I'm looking forward to this upcoming football, sharing panels with you. Not just am I honored to be on the panels with you guys, but I'm a fan of you guys because, when you're in the sports betting world, it's a small circle. It may seem like everybody's in it. It's a small circle. I love you guys for so long. The last few months has been a pleasure for me, and this upcoming football, tip of the iceberg the last few months. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to make a lot of people a lot of money together.
Awesome. I think we should have him on the show like every day. If he's going to talk like this.
I'll tell you what, Joe. If that raspy voice pushes out winners, then I find it sexy as hell. So just shoot out some winners.
Rob, listen.
That I can cash.
John, if my voice gets any worse, we may have to induct like a hearing impaired thing where when I speak you could read my words. I want to thank you. I mean, I started the week with you, I finished the week with you, and Rob. Next few weeks we're gonna have a lot of fun. Football, college, and pro baseball. We're a full swing. But I just look forward to having a lot of fun. And everybody out there, when you enjoy what you do, it makes it a lot enjoyable for everybody around. And on top of it, we got the best there is. Look at us. We got the best there is giving winners out. So thank you for having me today.
Yeah. Hey, one thing, though, before you go, Joe, I know you have to take off. You got to I guess you must have a doctor's appointment or something if you're wearing a hoodie in 110-degree weather. Unless you have the air conditioner turned on massive. But Jimmy Johnson, if you Google him, and I'm going to bring Tony Finn on here too so you can say hi to him.
Yeah.
Now Finster, you got to listen to this.
I'm not on. Or your name could be Joe D'Amico, and you just wear a hoodie because you can.
That's not my question. My question is that Joe D'Amico said that Rob Veno has the best hair since Jimmy Johnson. But if I remember correctly, if it was a windy game on the sidelines, he never wore a hat and his hair never moved.
Yes, well, that makes you. You have to kind of step back a little bit from that and say, was that really hair, or is Jimmy Johnson? Are the rumors true? And he is, in fact, an alien.
Here we go.
Here we go. I love it. I miss you guys so much. I thank you for having me, Tony.
Yeah, Joe's got to take off.
Tony's
Have
my
you
new.
been to sleep yet?
Tony's my new midnight buddy. You know, Tony and I.
Oh, nice.
I know John likes my voice; he finds it sexy. But Tony's my midnight buddy. We were talking last night. Tony, pleasure to wake up with you, and it's a pleasure to fall asleep with John and Rob.
Let's not. And I demand that no one say anything after that comment that Joe just backed into.
I thought we were close friends, but not this close.
I just want to thank you for making breakfast. I love you, Tony.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, listen, and don't forget that I imported the Big Wave, which is, the Hawaiian mid-afternoon delight treat. I don't know what you call it. What was that song? Afternoon delight.
Afternoon delight.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want to be alone, Rob Veno and I can take us both off the show here. You guys can spend a couple minutes together.
We're not shy. We have nothing to hide.
I want to thank you.
Oh my God, this is too much.
Have you not met us?
Of course. But
and John, just to answer your question about me and the hoodie and the hat in Vegas with 100 degrees, I have nothing on below and underneath, so it evens out. I just wanted you to know that.
It's amazing the quality information we give people above and beyond sports betting information on this show. Every time I learn something new or something that I don't want to do or think about.
And we want to thank Joe for not showing below the waist.
Just in case, for those who bet Joe under 1.5 layers of clothes today, you win.
Rob has jokes. I like it.
Yeah, this is good.
I want to thank you guys. Tony, I got to run.
You do?
Yeah, I hear a siren. No, I have to run. Rob, a pleasure. John, I adore you. Thank you again. Finishing out
anytime, buddy.
And I look forward to next week. I look forward to next week and the upcoming football season. Having some fun, but giving some good content out to everybody out there and having a good time with you guys because it really makes my day. It really does. Tony and I spoke last night very quickly about, when you're put your heart into this and you're good at what you do, and it's not what people think. It's a lonely life. You're up all in the wee hours. You're doing work. You're in front of a computer. Your lights are going, But I look forward to seeing you guys in the day and sharing some time with you, picking up a few good tidbits, having some laughs, and I hope the people out there enjoy it too. So thank you.
You bet, Joe.
And Joe, just so you know, you won't see John during the day. He only comes out vampires only come out at night.
John who?
John Vampire Ryan Vegas, whatever all that 10 Romanian names that you have.
So Joe, I'm no longer John Machine Gun Ryan. I am John Vampire
Count John.
Count the winners John. I like that name.
There you go. And if you care about what people think about you seriously and you're passionate, then you need to change occupations.
There you go. Joe, feel better, buddy.
You,
yeah, take care, Joe. Have a good weekend.
Have a great day, guys. God bless you. See you next week. Thanks for having me.
Take care, pal.
Fuck tonight, buddy. What was Joe's free play?
Joe's free play was on the Tennessee Titans. He wants to get -2.5, which has been cropping up at some of the books now. It was -3. They're playing Arizona, 1 o'clock on September 12th. And
obviously in Nashville.
Yes. Nashville, Tennessee, 1 o'clock at Nissan Stadium.
And how
if I remember correct.
Before we move on, I'm always want to ask this question. How do we feel about the Tennessee Titans in 2021?
I like it. Not
You
for
do?
the reasons most like it. I mean, most would point to Julio Jones and say that's why they like it. But,
Well,
they couldn't rush the passer tone. They couldn't defend the pass, and they go out and they get Bud Dupree to rush
True.
the passer. And to me, they're one of those teams that if defensively, they're not going to be great. If they could shave 4 points a game off, maybe get a couple more turnovers this year because Dupree is in the backfield, it could make all the difference in the world for that team because offensively they should be one of the best offenses in the NFL for sure. So I thought the Dupree acquisition was even more important than Julio Jones. Julio Jones, great, don't get me wrong. You got to love that addition to A.J. Brown. Might be running against single coverage a lot this year, but
what's the difference?
Dupree to me makes a difference.
What is the difference between Julio Jones and Derrick Henry? What's the difference?
About a foot.
Obvious.
One runs pass routes.
Yeah, and one is about a foot bigger, taller.
Here's the difference.
They both went to Alabama.
Julio Jones is fresh. Derrick Henry's
True.
not.
Julio Jones will spread the field.
My concern, it won't be a concern. It shouldn't be a concern in week one. My concern is that Derrick Henry, unless he is related to Mr. Joe D'Amico and is an alien, then we are in line for some. He better get less carries, less touches than he had last year, or he's going to be just like every other running back in the Nashville League, and that is used up and a half a second slower, a half a step slower, and always sore, and never feeling like you should feel when you hit the football field on a Sunday at kickoff. And that's my concern. That's why I ask you guys. Although I do like, we can't put Evans or McNichols or even Brian Hill in the Derrick Henry category. Without Derrick Henry, I don't think I beg someone to tell me that Tannehill can do the same things. So,
well, the decoy factor, if they want to lessen the carries, always play action always helps too. You got to respect it. I mean, they still got to load box against Derrick Henry. I would think 8 guys creeped in and
until Derrick shows that until he shows, and we'll see it. That's something you can't hide. Is you can't hide what happens to a running back when he's been overused. It's amazing. Right. It is absolutely amazing how transparent it is.
The downhill happens quick.
Yes, it does. It is right.
Yeah. I mean, he's not in. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, Tone. Obviously, you've done some work on this. It's not in the Earl Campbell type numbers, is it?
No.
For Derrick Henry?
No, it's not. And guess what? I will say this. I'll say Derrick Henry's proven on my charts. He's proven to be durable as well. I mean, he's taken some. I've seen some of the things he's gotten up from, some of the hits, and he does a decent job. Listen, there's a certain knack that a running back has too as well. And I don't mean you're going to be a Barry Sanders where listen. If I'm going to take a hit, you're going to barely graze me, and I'm going to step out of bounds before I'm going to get that extra yard. I see it. You'll be in a sports book, guys, and the guys are drunk in the corner, bet their team. They're saying that sissy bitch didn't get that extra yard. I smile because what I really want to say is, what are you going to do when you see a 260-pound linebacker coming at your ass? I'm stepping out of bounds. I may not get that extra. I'm probably going to get the extra 15 because he's going to hit me late and it's going to hurt. Might as well get 15 when it hurts.
Yeah, John. Here's a good one for you because where Derrick Henry's concerned, size and style, he's a little bit bulkier. Let's face it.
Yes.
But to me, the comparison with how many times they feed him the ball, the way he runs upright, his size is Eric Dickerson. And I don't know how many years and how many carries it was before Eric Dickerson finally, at the end, you could see it was the end for Eric Dickerson. But I feel like they got a lot of years and a lot of usage out of Eric Dickerson, who took a pounding.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he had money. Listen, not only that, right out of college, he had plenty of money to have a doctor on the sidelines giving him, at that point in time, opiates and cocaine and all that stuff. It was pretty much a regular medicine cabinet on the sidelines of NFL teams. So they were able to do some things back then that they're not healthy. Let's be honest, long term they're not healthy. But
right.
Hollywood Henderson, there's story after story after story of what went on, and much there's no different in baseball. Darryl Porter. Listen, Darryl Porter, one of my favorite guys. Why? Because he was one of the first to ever come out and say, "Listen, they're lying to you. Those Quaaludes are addictive." And he was pretty bad with him. Vita Blue. Listen, that Vita Blue Willie Wilson era. When Vita came over to Kansas City, that was those '80s, those teams when late '70s, early '80s, where, cocaine wasn't even it was just a rich man's drug. It wasn't addictive, just a rich man's drug, right? I guess you could ask Willie Mays Aikens whether that's really the case. Another Kansas City Royals guy who I think guys, I'm mistaken. I have to look at that. I've mentioned it twice though. I think they finally released him after about 15 or 18 years in Leavenworth.
Not easy time.
Yeah, well, it is federal.
Better than most.
I'm sure it's better than the state prison right next door to it.
Rikers Island.
Rikers. Well, I would have been okay being on
in John's neck of
Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood.
Rahway State Prison.
And we got Rahway, and then we got Graterford, actually.
There's some tough places out there.
Graterford is 3,400. And I'll tell you the truth, when I would drive past any sizable prison, 3,400.
Always pick up hitchhikers. Always.
And Tony, this is true. This is true. Yeah, I mean, when a guy was, he had a striped shirt on, it looked like he was from, Nordstrom's. I always gave him a ride.
Hell yes.
But you're about to hear something about me that's shocking.
I would.
And I doubt whether you're going to believe it.
Okay, I'm listening though. Another story from my book.
This is definitely like chapter something. So back in the 80s, I've played piano since I was like 7 years old. Okay. Then in high school, I started playing church organ. So when I went to college, I also took.
Hence your nickname, Liberace. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't like him. I didn't drink when I played.
Really?
And wearing that many necklaces, I would have felt like Joe D'Amico, and then I didn't have the strength. But
no back.
Seriously, I would take I played in a church, played in several churches actually over the years, kind of spending money for college.
Catholic church?
No, Lutheran.
Okay, all right.
Lutheran. And we on Christmas, about a week before Christmas, the choir and I would go to Graterford Prison and perform a service. And walking through that prison,
a lot of comments. There's going to be a lot of private chat comments on this story. But go on.
Wow, that's all I had to say. There was that one cell block that you had to walk through to get to the chapel, and all I can tell you is that there was like eyes looking at you that had no life in it. It was like it was scary. It actually was scary until you actually got to the safety of the chapel, but we thought we were doing a good thing, and
you just walked into I was going to say until you get to the safety of the chaplain. Okay, go ahead.
Well, the chapel had
not so safe in some instances.
Never mind.
It always had a lot of security when we were there. I mean, we were basically surrounded by it, like we were famous people, being protected from the paparazzi. But I can tell you that place is just enormous.
Now he's
3,400
compared prisoners to paparazzi. This keeps getting better and better and better.
See, that's a good thing, right? I can't get thrown under the bus for that.
No, not by me, but probably by some paparazzi, maybe.
Well,
you could be on the front. You could be on the front page of the National Enquirer tomorrow. I'm not sure. John Liberace Ryan says that the paparazzi are equal to the prisoners at Rikers Island. I can see. Okay. I can see the story already, but that's another day.
It's another day. Isn't it crazy how this went from Joe's free pick of Tennessee -2.5 to John playing church organ in a prison?
Yeah.
I mean, we can get places within 10 minutes, guys.
I'm going to be blamed for this. I'm blamed for it all the time. Tony, stay focused. Stay on point. All right. Damn it.
So tell us about Kenley Jansen, Tone.
Oh, my God.
Thank God I had 5 innings last night. And Dave Roberts. How about Dave Roberts?
Let me tell you about Kenley Jansen again.
Both should be fired.
For the 23rd time in the last 2 days. Mm-hmm. Because Kenley Jansen's, anybody who's followed me knows knows that my brother, Kenley Jansen, my brother from many faraway mothers, we don't like each other. We really don't hate each other. We don't like each other. I don't trust him. He doesn't trust me, and for good reason, because he and Dave Roberts are in bed together. There's no other explanation. They are in bed together, or Jansen has something on Dave that is it's obviously measurable, but here's the deal. 2 nights ago, I'm on San Francisco as a $140 dog. What happens? I think my brother was feeling sorry for me. Had my record. He said, "You know what? I'm gonna take about 2 or 3 miles an hour off my already 89 mile an hour fastball, and we'll just go ahead and go home for the night." That's what they did. Well, they had to bat first, and then last night I never thought they'd bring him in again. I have that whole game, guys. I'm over 7.5. I'll get on early on that game. Over 7.5. It went to an 8. Eventually closed at an 8, and 1-1 after 1, bases first and third, nobody out. They don't score, and then all of a sudden I'm in the 8th inning. It's 3-1. And I said, "How the hell is this 3-1?" And it's really, if it wasn't for one bad pitch, it's 1-1 still probably. And what happens? A friend of mine from the neighborhood comes by. I go talk to him for 5 minutes. I come back, and I'll be damned if Jansen did not have my back again. And it's 5-3. I cover my over 7.5, and hopefully some of my clients are winners, and the ones that weren't winners at least got the push. So that's how I'm feeling. You kind of just brighten my day. If I thought I thought Jansen really did have something on Skipper Roberts, then I would probably be on anybody playing the Dodgers tonight, because he'll make another third appearance in 3 nights, which Jansen doesn't do very often. He has in the past when he was younger and tougher and didn't have a conscience. He made those kind of appearances, but I don't think they'd pitch him tonight. So I think if you like the Dodgers, tonight's probably the night, because you're not going to have Jansen in the 9th inning.
Yeah, it's crazy. That manager.
How do you feel about that?
As it gets. Well,
Were you on the Dodgers?
I was for first 5, so I won. Will Smith hit that home run, made it 3-1. I didn't have to worry about the rest of the game. Yeah. And Buehler kind of straightened out after the first couple innings and had a couple easy innings there, 4 and 5. But Dave Roberts is, as much as Jansen is to blame, the other guy is just as. This is 3, and then this is the Dodger fan in me speaking, not the better. Yeah. Well, it should be the better too. But you're watching this guy close every game for 3-4 years, and I tell you what, this guy, if he didn't have the roster that he had, he wouldn't even be managing baseball. I don't. Oh
no! Listen, I know baseball well enough. I don't proclaim or stand on any soapbox and tell you that I'm the end all when it comes to baseball. But Dave Roberts should have more than one championship with the players he's had and the time he's been in L.A. And I'm sorry, but that's I believe wholeheartedly that that Whitey Herzog would have more than one championship if he was managing that team.
Absolutely.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he hung that guy out to dry last night. Just leave him in, leave him in, leave him.
Yep.
You know what's coming. The script is written. You know what's
Yep.
going to happen. We all knew
Yep.
what was going to happen. And the umpire, I guess, on the check swing, Hickox at first base took a lot of heat. That probably was a swing. And
It
maybe
was.
the game should have been over. But, of course, you know, if you're judging by the camera box, the strike zone box, there was a pitch in that sequence that Jansen probably got the benefit of, so maybe things even themselves out. But it's Roberts. How can you just sit there after the guy threw 27 pitches the night before and you're just watching him go and go and go and just let him go until he loses the game? Give me a break.
Have you?
Do something.
And you have you guys, both of you? Listen, I was doing some chart updates at a week before All-Star break. Okay, because that's when we hit the 81 or right around the half season mark. It was actually about a week before the midseason Summer Classic, and those numbers that Jansen put up for the month and a half before these last two nights, were smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. We've watched you, Rob, as a Dodgers fan. I've watched Jansen out here in Vegas. Believe it or not, we're blacked out.
Right.
But I have I know this guy. I know this guy, and I can watch the Dodgers games.
Yep.
Okay, and if you're interested, you too can watch any game you want for the right amount of money. Now, it's smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. The fact that he hadn't given up an earned run in a month and a half and 20 starts, whatever it was, or 20 appearances, because there's nothing different. There's nothing different about Jansen from last year to this year, and what you saw in the last two nights. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be what he was the last two nights every night, but for the most, that's the risk you take. Listen. We talked about this the first year. Gonsolin. They had so many options before they started having some injuries that they could use. I thought that May would make. I think May is the prototypical guy to use the closer with what he has as far as movement, velocity, and the fact is that that May has is a young guy who can throw 100, right?
Yep.
But as he gets into the fourth and fifth inning, how much velocity he tends to lose as a starter. And those are the kind of guys that you can fix those. You can fix that variable to some degree, but he wouldn't be the first guy that threw 100. The most recent guy that was the most successful, uber successful, threw 100, 102 if he wanted to, and was a starter and was just miserable as a starter after the first time through the rotation. Any idea who I'm talking about? He won. He was part of the 2015 World Series team and was one of the big three that backed up the starters for the Kansas City Royals.
Well,
When he pitched for Tampa Bay,
2015 being a Royals World Series.
he was the middle reliever, the setup man for Holland.
Yeah, so it's Kelvin
Herrera?
Herrera. Yeah.
Well, Herrera then pitched for Tampa Bay. They got him over in the trade from Tampa Bay. Was a starter for Tampa Bay, and was turned into a reliever.
All right.
Do I
so
have-
Holland, Herrera.
Come on, you guys are
and-
geniuses, man.
Yeah, I know. Jesus, you're killing me, Tone, because
Eh,
they won
like it.
that playoff series against the Orioles with that bullpen. Buck Showalter got outfoxed.
Oh, my goodness gracious. And rest is God rest his soul. Listen, that Royal staff then was just really a good staff. I mean, they knew exactly what they were doing. They I don't know, they had pinch runners that could, that were faster than Speedy Gonzalez. But you know who I'm talking about, Wade Davis. Come on, guys.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and then Colorado.
Wade Davis.
Yep.
And Davis, let me tell you, the nastiest stuff. Herrera, Davis, Holland, those guys, when they were right, and they were right most nights, unhittable. All three of them, unhittable. Herrera turned into Herrera's best years was in as the seventh inning guy. But he became a closer. Was a successful closer for a year and a half, 2 years. But, at least he's not still collecting a check and pretending to be a closer like Soria. Holy crap.
Let's just try a hypothetical here, Tone.
Yeah.
Be the manager of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I'll be the manager of the Dodgers.
Okay.
If you don't go out before the deadline and you don't get a closer because your loyalty to Kenley Jansen is such, and believe me, the loyalty to Kenley Jansen is off the charts.
Yes,
and he had some great years for them, but at some point you have to do what's best for the club, right? If you can't go out and get a top-notch closer before the trade deadline, my mind tells me, why don't we just switch Kenley Jansen and Blake Trinan? But the problem with Blake Trinan in the ninth, to me, is that the slider moves so much that if you ever have a man on third, you're scared to death to throw your out pitch, so to speak, your strikeout pitch. But hopefully nobody ever gets it there. But to me, Trinan's a better option to close out games right now than Jansen is, if you can't get a closer.
Yes. And you're absolutely correct with Trinan. Here's the deal also. He's one of those guys that I think the reluctance maybe to make him, a guy that's come in and shut the door is that slider, some of his movement, it's almost, listen, wild pitches or pass balls are not uncommon. And one thing about a reliever, there's still some of them. I mean, there's one reliever out there. The Dodgers have all the money. They have more money than listen. I don't want to go there and get some drive-bys on my Twitter or something. But they can go out. Listen, all they have to do is make a call right now, and they'll have a rental from the Cubs.
Right.
And guess what? It's done. That puts them.
Yep.
I am telling you right now, Jansen's still capable. Right-handed hitters, eighth inning. That isn't Goldie or a veteran that's savvy and seen Jansen. Those guys that have seen Jansen for years and years, San Francisco, and not all those guys in that division. They know Jansen. Look at Jansen's numbers. When he's successful, it's typically not against the NL West.
Yeah, the ball just doesn't move. They call it a cutter, but there's no movement to anything he throws.
None.
Nope. He's thrown a little bit harder this year, 94, 95 even last night.
And that's why it's not moving as much, too.
But it just sits there and begs to be hit, or else he's spiking it and trying. I was on Twitter last night. My Dodger fandom, basically, if Craig Kimbrell isn't on the Dodgers by sunrise, or he should be on the Dodgers by sunrise, that's who they need at this point in time. Whether or not they go get him or not, I'm not sure. And if they don't, to me, the option is Trinan. But I am fearful of a runner on third base with him not being able. They can't even call the slider. They can't call it because.
That's true.
Listen, not that Kimbrell's a heart attack. A guy like me, if I'm a fan and Kimbrell's my closer every night, I'm not making it through a season with Kimbrell, because that son of a bitch will get out. He'll walk a guy just so he can, because he can, and he doesn't give a shit. He'll go 3-0, and he never even blinks. He doesn't care. Now guys like us who our livelihood, we can't have. I mean, Kimbrell's numbers, when I watched him early this season, I said, I wonder if this is it for Kimbrell, because he cannot continue to pull these rabbits out of his ass. Game after appearance after game after appearance. But he does.
Yeah, he's off the charts right now for his age.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's off the charts.
So what if the Phillies enter the competition for Kimbrell?
Well, I would like to see that, but let me tell you something. I'm really disappointed in the Phillies the last 3 nights. I mean, listen, they've had they really, that was their, and I'm not saying they're done, but I'm saying that I've always been a fan of not just the Phillies, but of their skipper. But I'm just, I don't know. I'm not certain that that I don't know what to say. Listen, the Phillies have it on paper. Was Harper a good signing? Come on, that's a lot of money to spend. What's Harper done since he's been there? Harper's always going to be that guy. He's going to be a professional hitter. He's never going to wow you, although he could defend. He can play some defense. He can roam the outfield. But he's just, I don't know how to say this. in this environment, he's what you get. But in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, a guy that needs to put the ball in the bat and at a dead ball and hit a gap or hit a hard ball hard somewhere. Sometimes I really don't. I'm not comfortable with Harper. So that's just me. Philly fans, maybe.
I got some interesting stats on Jansen here.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right. So over the years, I'm comparing 21 to 20 actually. Whiff percentage on the sinker has dropped from 36% to 28%.
That's with tack? Is that with tack?
I would think so. I would think so.
Well, that's last year, 20?
Comparing him now to last year.
How about 19?
But
I hate to use last year.
Like on his sinker, spin rate is up a little bit, maybe 2%. The cutter has gone from 25.53 to 27.20. 27.20 is like elite.
It ain't doing much the last 3 days.
Listen, that camera angle with Jansen, that ball does nothing.
Right.
Nothing. It's a beach ball.
Yeah, you wonder sometimes how these guys swing through it, Tone. I'm like, how did you miss that ball? I mean, honest to God, how'd you miss?
I know. I agree. I agree.
It's crazy.
It is.
He gets away with a lot of stuff in bad places. And then when he doesn't get away with it, you get last night, you get the night before, and it just seems like he's in that cycle now where it's a downward spiral.
It's not a good cycle to be in right now for the Dodgers. I assure you of that. 3 games out of first place, and against a San Francisco team that has obviously sold their soul to the devil because they're doing things that I can't believe they're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
With people we can't believe are doing it.
With who? Who?
Steven Duggar.
Who? Yeah. Yeah.
Austin Dickerson.
Yeah.
And that core of old guys. Buster Posey's found the fountain of youth, right? Buster Posey's hitting like 332 or something crazy.
Unbelievable. Longoria. All those guys are not, they're veterans. You expect them to be, I expect veterans like that to take advantage of mistakes and maybe hit 275 or 280, hit a big dinger every once in a while. Not 300 plus. Not with what the pitchers are doing, or what they're able to do, or we're able to do. So interesting stuff, though. These are the things that make me still really connected to baseball because I find them intriguing, and I want to watch, and I want to, spit out my 2 cents or my 5th grade opinion. That's what I like still about baseball. But I don't like some of the other crap that goes on right now. It's pretty depressing. Rob wasn't on the other day when I kind of had my little 15-minute moment with baseball and my disappointment in baseball ownership mostly.
It was good. That was well done monologue for sure. I'm still looking at Jansen here because my guess is, and I bet you the announcers, I haven't watched the Dodgers game in a while, but I bet you they're saying that, in fact, they said it last night with Tanner Houck of the Red Sox, and he looked so good in those first 3+ innings, but then the elbow drops, and it can be an inch, half an inch, and the hand gets too much on the side of the ball, and when you do that, you can have all the spin rate in the world, but it's going to be flat, and I bet you that's what the problem is with Jansen because it makes no sense that the spin rate could be up and he's throwing it flatter. And if he's throwing it flatter, there's only one way you can throw it flatter, and that's what I just said. The elbow's down, and he's not staying on top of the ball, and he's too much on the side of it.
Well, he is 100 years old, too. So, to his defense, he's had his moment. But listen, you name me, there's just, in this day and age of baseball, professional hitters who are seeing 100 miles an hour, are trying to figure out how to hit a 100-mile-an-hour slider. I'm exaggerating. A 95-mile-an-hour slider with ridiculous movement. Then Jansen comes along, and it's like batting practice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's certainly not the most fearful closer to face.
No.
That's for sure. You get up against him. Reputation precedes him, like anything else. Like Cody Bellinger. How the hell is Cody Bellinger not assigned to AAA or AA to get his head on straight? I mean, it's
somebody crazy. There was tweet after tweet after tweet about Bellinger. I think you might have been in with that, Rob. I think I might have read your tweet saying that you wouldn't trust him at AAA. Is that you? Somebody said something like that.
Yeah, he's no better than a AA number 8 hitter right now. He's hitting 153, and these people talk about him still like he's an MVP of the league, and he's, you know what? And again, you watch a lot of the Dodgers, you see a lot, but if not for one excellent half of baseball and a couple other spurts, this guy's the most overrated MVP to come along the pike in the last 20 years. I mean, he is just not. His dad, Tony, here's what gets me, is his dad was a professional ball player, all right? Mm-hmm. He's obviously a victim of launch angle. Okay, I mean, you watch this guy swing, and it starts from the dirt, and it comes straight up over his head, and he just does not. Level swing is not in his vocabulary. And hitting coaches, a lot of times, are reluctant to go up to these guys. I get it, unless they're asked for their advice. But his dad was a major leaguer. Somebody's got to be able to get through to this guy. Your stance is stupid. Your swing is stupid. You're a 153 hitter. And Dave Roberts bets you lead off, clean up, fifth, anywhere that can crush the team and crush rallies. It's brutal to watch right now.
When you have a talent base, a pool of players with actual talent, and even some who I think maybe mythical talent or been built up because of what they're able to do, then you need a manager that is different than Dave Roberts. You need a guy who, no matter what, and I mentioned him already because he's one of my favorite, was Herzog. Herzog, listen, the players liked Herzog, but Herzog didn't cater to a player. And he put his team in a position, he did little things like that, and he also had, back then you could do a few more things as a manager. You could actually, berate and denigrate your player on TV in the dugout in front of everybody.
Casey Stengel.
Billy Martin.
Well, Billy Martin, those kind of guys. That's what this Dodger team really need. They need a little more of a stand-up. A guy that's, taller than 5'5", and they can, look the players in the eye and look them square in the eye. And I'm kidding. I'm trying to be funny, and I'm not funny. Some people won't find
I thought it was funny.
But yeah. But me too. But then I find everything I say funny, so it doesn't matter. They need somebody, and listen. Me and Gabe's a huge Dodgers fan. Tonight we'll be doing Gabe's show, and I guarantee you we will have 15 or 20 minutes on Dave Roberts. I promise you, because he's a diehard kind of Dodgers kid, or a guy, and we've talked. He and I have had a lot of conversations about Skipper Dave, and about Jansen. And that connection and that marriage and that relationship that is unhealthy if you're a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, well, I would say now that manager, Dave Roberts' relation to Cody Bellinger is unhealthy as well, because he keeps, like I say, you can't hit this guy clean up. You can't hit this guy fifth. You can't have Max Muncy getting on and Justin Turner following up and then seeing Cody Bellinger kill your rally. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And thank goodness Will Smith has come along and they put him in a cleanup hole. But
no doubt.
Cody Bellinger and his assets, Tone, are great. You watch some of the plays Cody Bellinger makes in center fielder. He's a Gold Glove outfielder. You watch his speed and his base running. He's a great base runner. He's fast as all heck. But this guy can't hit the baseball. I mean, somebody made a great comparison last night. Tell me what you think of this. Now, Cody Bellinger is viewed as a league MVP, right? Somebody compared Cody Bellinger to Jackie Bradley Jr. He's the same guy. Jackie Bradley Jr. is a great center fielder who barely hits 200.
Not much
Cody
of a hitter.
Bellinger's, it's the same thing, basically.
Right.
He's Jackie Bradley Jr.
If you're comparing Jackie Bradley Jr., then what you've done is if that's who Bellinger is, and that's who he's going to be, then Bellinger better start socking away a couple pennies then, because he's not going to be signing any big contract. Yeah.
It's not coming, right? Yeah. The guys who used to be great fielders in our day, I'll go back a little bit, great fielders with no stick, hit eighth. Bud Harrelson, Mark Belanger. Generally, they were shortstops, right, or second baseman, guys who couldn't hit, but they could field.
They're still around, believe it or not, Rob. One of the biggest contracts I saw in the last 5 years, let's say the last 5 years, a contract I could not believe was in between, and he went from arrival to arrival, a 3-hour little 40-minute plane ride from St. Louis to Chicago, and I never thought he was ever get the contract he got, and we know who we're talking about, the right fielder for the Cubs. They got that big free agent contract from St. Louis, and you know what? They still hit him. They still put him in the lineup sometimes way far too close to the meat or the top of the order than I would ever do. But you won't see those contracts on a defensive player in this day and age either. You will never see that contract again. In my opinion, I don't know if you agree with that, but or if Cubs fans would agree with that. But I will tell you something right now. I do not, under any circumstances, nor would I ever believe that he got that one. But more than this, I don't trust him at the plate to move runners. I don't trust him at the plate to get that big hit. And Hayward is a Gold Glover and always and has baseball DNA all over him, but he can't hit.
It's a problem. And manager loyalty to guys like that is a problem. If you're going to play Cody Bellinger every day, and I don't mind if you play him every day because of his defensive speed, then hit him eighth. Don't show me this guy somewhere. Get him out of the way because you're not doing yourself any favors.
You know where I would bat him? I would put the pitcher, and then since it's a National League team, in the 8 hole, and I would put Bellinger 9 to turn the lineup over.
Yeah.
And I would tell him to stop swinging at a 45-degree launch angle because you ain't going to hit the ball.
That's a hard...
How many pop-ups does the guy have?
Yeah.
Other than strikeouts.
Yeah, and he refuses. He just...
it's all the talent in the world.
What is Bellinger's hitting 150? Guess what? Here's the guy again. I wonder what was Hayward's hitting 204.
Yeah, he's just as bad. Yeah, he broke in with a splash, too. Remember when he broke in with the Braves? I think his first game he hit 2 home runs, and he was the next coming. Something like Byron Buxton has been for Minnesota, the next coming, and it just never happened.
Buxton can hit, he can field, but he's fragile. He's a glass. He's made of glass.
Hard to play that way. But this manager's got to do something to help this team out because this team is struggling right now. With the injuries and with everything. Now, Corey Seager's coming back, and Corey Seager will make a huge difference. He'll erase a lot of the Cody Bellinger non-offense with offense. But, there's too many hitters on that team to have this guy just sitting there in the 4-hole. Forget it.
There's 4, yeah. And for a long time, I thought Roberts did the right thing. For a long time, he was platooning most of those guys that were liabilities. He platooned them, but he's gotten away from all those things. I don't know whether it's because he couldn't win a championship platooning, but again, the last thing I say about this, I'm telling you, this Dodgers team for the last half decade should have more than one championship. In fact, at one point last year, I thought they're not going to win this either. That pedestrian, this no-name Tampa Bay team is going to win the World Series.
Right. No. It's true. It's true. It doesn't quite yet rival Bobby Cox's 14 division titles in a row and 1 World Series, but it's getting close.
Yes. Oh, no, it won't. There's just no way L.A. I mean, Atlanta was Bobby Cox was so likable, too. And that was Scherholtz, the best general manager ever in the history of baseball, in my opinion. I mean, he took an expansion franchise with Lou Piniella, defenselessness. Lou Piniella playing left field, and in 6 or 7 years, they were playing the Yankees every single year for the right to go to for the pennant. And then Atlanta's smart enough, Kansas City. I'm shocked he left there. I don't know why. But Ewing Kauffman would pay him anything he wanted why. I don't know the whole story why he went to Atlanta, but when he went to Atlanta, look what he did. They didn't win him the championships, but every year, dude, from the farm to the day that an Atlanta player retired, they had a roster that was impeccable, but they just couldn't win that big game. And I don't know. It sounds like to me you maybe lay some of that on Bobby Cox.
Well, there's a lot to go. I mean, they ran into some better teams. For one, I mean, the one team they beat was Cleveland in 1995, and that's a tough team to beat, right? Manny Ramirez, Albert Bell, hitter after hitter after hitter. That was a great hitting team. But you have Smoltz, Maddox, and Glavine, and to tell you the truth, when they came around to the playoffs, those guys didn't show up. Smoltz did, but I put a lot on Glavine. Glavine didn't really show up when playoffs came. Maddox had his difficulties when
it was listen, hockey was on TV when the playoffs came. Glavine was watching hockey.
They get beat by the Twins that one year, right? Kirby Puckett, and the Twins. But that's 14 division titles in a row and one World Series. The Dodgers are close. I have to say the Dodgers have won the NL West maybe 9 years in a row now. How many years?
Oh yeah, well it's ridiculous. It is. I don't know how many. I have to look it up, but
and he's sitting with one World Series. I mean, it's nuts.
And yes, and that's. This during an era when San Diego, Arizona, and San Francisco really haven't been very good. Now this year, San Diego's gotten better. They've spent some money, and San Francisco is there may have been a movie. Moneyball was made out of an Oakland team that did some amazing things. But if there's not a movie, man, this damn San Francisco team, something's wrong because there is something wrong with what they're doing.
You expect them to be pretty active at the deadline too. Now that they know they're right there, see what it's gonna. This July 31st is gonna be interesting to see how this shapes out.
Yeah, yes, it is gonna be interesting.
I thought the Cardinals would be sellers, but now the Cardinals go and win a couple of games, and they're probably too proud to sell. But the Cubs are selling everybody. And
well, they were selling. They were selling before the season opener. And then all of a sudden, they're in first place in June 1st. And I know I did a show. I think it was I don't know if it was this show, maybe it was a show. And I said, somebody asked me who's going to win the Central, the NL Central. The Cubs. The way I said at that time, I said, they couldn't hit. If you remember, they were historically pathetic in April. The hitting they were pathetic. That returned. It returned, and that's where they're at now. And not only that, I had them. I'm a little upset with them. Not upset. I shouldn't be. I'm not upset, but they revealed some things. They lost in extra innings. Had runners on first and third, nobody out in the 10th, and didn't score because Rizzo, who's a good smart, savvy guy, but none of these kids. Javier Baez made an error that just errors based. This Cubs team, I'm telling you guys right now, they don't give a shit. They don't. And you cannot. If you're putting money on the Cubs right now, everyone listening, if you put then, and I did. At this point forward, if I'm putting money on the Cubs, or in a Cubs game, it's not going to be on the Cubs.
Yeah.
It's not.
I tell you, real quick, back to your question about the Phillies, John, and Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw the Mets actually fire the first shot today, right? We talked about Rich Hill the other day, as a matter of fact. You and I don't know how I managed to bring that up, but Rich Hill to the Mets, and last night Nelson Cruz to Tampa Bay. Those could be. Hey, Rich Hill is still a good 5-inning pitcher. He's still good at what he does when he's right, when he doesn't have blisters on his hand. To be a 4-starter or something in the playoffs. But Nelson Cruz to Tampa Bay, that's a pretty nice little move, too, for them.
Yeah, it's huge.
I'll be publishing. I got to send it over to the news and get it put up. But I do my power rankings, my MLB, and my article monologue, whatever you want to call it, introduction. I went back over the teams that won. I went back about 30 years, just glanced over teams and anything that hit my head. But for the most part, I wrote that typically July trade deadline moves it's not the Kimbrel or that big name, big salary that makes the difference. It's typically moves that. Funny, it's relevant to what we're talking about because we're talking about today. We're talking about champions today, but typically it's the teams are selling that are savvy. They'll make 2 or 3 trades, and what they've done is they've set themselves up for 2 or 3 years from now to be and one of those teams that I really liked. I'll mention this. It's a 1989. Thompson was Lee Thomas. Was the general manager for the Phillies. Is that right? That's right. I think that was right.
Yeah.
He made some. They sold some guys off, and then they were in the World Series in 1993. Now they lost to who did they lose to in '93? They lost to
Toronto.
Toronto,
Carter, right?
Yep. Toronto and Joe
Mitch
Carter.
Williams.
Right. Okay. That was it. They traded for Dykstra. They made 3 trades. He made 3 trades that had 7 players, and I call them the lucky 7. I'll write about it, and it's funny. I just wrote about it last night, and now everything's escaping me. But those 3 trades made them. It really set the tone. And then the Fergosi. They went from Fergosi became the manager, and Fergosi took what was the manager prior to Fergosi? It was the V. Am I supposed to know this stuff other than just typing it?
No, Dallas Green was before that.
No, yeah. it was V. It's what's his name starts. I never. I gotta pull it up.
I'll look it
up.
I'll tell you.
I have it. I mean, I wrote his name 5 times last night. But he was a good skipper, and he took what Lee Thomas did or traded for, and he really built a team for Fergosi. And Fergosi was able to take Dykstra and McDowell. They got McDowell in a trade. They got some guys that were key to that team, and they finished in last place. 1992, Phillies finished in last place in the NL. Then was the Central? No, it was the Central then? I don't know.
They were always in the East.
Okay, yeah, okay. It was in the East, right. And last place. And then in 93, they're in the Fall Classic. A big reason for Kruk. He traded for John Kruk too. Kruk was part of that
San Diego.
Team. That's right. But he made 3 just absolutely. He was at the trade deadline selling, and he did a great job. And again, 4 years later, those are the teams that we won't talk about those things, but we'll see who makes the best deals. And the best deals aren't necessarily to the teams that are buying.
Because all the leverage exists with the seller. They have the leverage. So I guess the team today that capitalized on being lousy and making great trade line deals is the White Sox, right? The Chris Sale deal brought back a ton, including Moncada. The White Sox did a hell of a job 3 years ago to put themselves in this position now with all that young talent that they have. So they're probably the best example today of what you're talking about, using your leverage. Some of these teams, they give away guys, and you say, what are you getting in return? You should be able to, when you have multiple bidders, you should be able to get a king's ransom for some of these players. But some organizational tops are better than others, and the White Sox did the right thing, that's for sure.
Leyva. Was the manager.
Nick Leyva.
Nick Leyva.
Right. Yeah. And I always struggle with that name, but that was Nick Leyva. He built that 93 team. Fergosi took over, I think, in 92 or 91 or 92, but it was really I stopped. That's the only team I wrote about because I remember them that well because that was the years, that's the years I was really deep into baseball because some of my childhood in the 80s, I mean, George Brett threatens to hit 400, or he almost hits 400 one year, and they win their first series in 85 against who? The Mets. They lose in 80 to, who did they lose in 80 to? Philadelphia, right? Wasn't it Philly?
What year?
1980, the Royals lost to the Phillies.
To Philadelphia.
Yes,
in the World
that's
Series.
correct.
Pete Rose.
And then they came back and won it in 85 over the Mets. So, and that 80 team, Willie Wilson struck out he struck out 20 times in the series. It was stupid. Your leadoff hitter striking out 20 times, but that was Tug McGraw. That was you got to believe they were just. And then again, like I said, good stuff.
In '85 they beat the Cardinals. That's the I-70.
No, you're right. They beat the Cardinals, not the Mets. They beat the Cardinals.
Joaquin Andujar punched a fan in a dugout. And
they beat
that's
the
Don
Mets.
Denkinger series, right? That's Denkinger series where he gets threatened for the next 20 years, basically. Had to go into hiding because he blew that call.
He was. Listen, it was such a bad call. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, a guy that had to read subtitles in Braille saw that coming before the guy who made the call.
Yep. Hey, for those who can remember, in that particular series, that's a series where Vince Coleman got caught in the automatic tarp and got injured, getting rolled up in the tarp. And, they were all about speed, right? They had McGee, they had Coleman. And I don't know if they still had Tommy Herr at that point. I know in '82 when they played the Brewers, Tommy Herr and those guys were on. But that's how they were built under Herzog, right? They're a turf team. Hit into the alleys, use our speed, let's pitch. It's a good baseball team. But, that series could have changed. That might not have been the Brett Saberhagen series if, in fact, Dinkinger makes the right call.
You think about that team. There's a guy like
George Hendrick.
one guy, Gubazol, who's now color for the Angels, has been for years. Mark Gubazol was nothing but that was his time. It was his 15 minutes in that 2-year, 3-year period there where he was pretty good. Was that Quisenberry too? I don't know. They had some guys that were just known that most people wouldn't be able to even tell you who they were. Don't remember them,
I think for the Cardinals that year it was John Tudor, right? That little lefty.
Tudor. The Guidry one. He could never match Guidry's arm speed, but he was more of a Glavine, I would think.
Not many could.
No. Guidry would be just fine in this day and age of baseball, by the way, because he would find a way to make his tack invisible, and then after he struck you out, he'd say, "By the way, I'm cheating," and he would just tell you he's cheating. So he had no problem with that. I liked him.
Lefties, Guidry, as little as he was, and Billy Wagner. The fact that those guys could throw as hard as they could throw, to me is always, to me, Billy Wagner. I would put him in Hall of Fame, but he sits on the ballot still. But he was tremendous. Billy Wagner was tremendous.
I like him.
There was orthopedic surgeons that said because of his size and throwing 100 miles an hour, the normal person's arm would have snapped.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I'm not very a queasy guy. I'm not a big fan of snakes.
Oh, you're not going to talk about Dave Dravecki.
I won't. But I will say this: if you watch some of the slow motion film of a pitcher now that throws 100, and you see what happens to that tricep muscle during that, the tricep muscle is almost a bicep muscle. At some point during that delivery,
it wraps around.
It is absolutely, to watch that slow motion. If you're queasy at all, it's not a Theismann compound fracture break, but it's not something you wonder what you're looking at.
It's true. They say that the tendon, the Tommy John tendon itself, actually leaves rests in a channel in your bone structure in your elbow, and when they throw that hard, it actually, like a rubber band, comes off the channel of the bone where it sits and then snaps back on the delivery. So like if you ever see a guy that's on the mound and he's looks like he's got water on his hand or something, and he's trying to go like this, if you can see what I'm doing, and it's down by his side and he's just moving his fingers like that, he's trying to get the feeling back in his hand from years and years of that happening. That they really can't feel the ball.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is nuts.
At rubber arm, there's guys who are missing certain parts of their arm too. Dickey. Well, RA didn't stand for rubber arm, but that's what I called him, rubber arm Dickey, because he could throw. He's not a guy. He could throw every day. if you want. He's got that whatever's missing from the tendon or something. Wouldn't allow him to really be an injury prone. Plus, he didn't throw that hard. It wouldn't. He's not a guy throwing but 90 miles an hour, right? And knuckleballs too.
Yep.
Yeah.
You remember Mike Marshall, Tone, closer
Of
for
course.
the Dodgers, 74 World Series. Mike Marshall was a doctor of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of did his own thing. But he had 104. Talk about somebody who could keep throwing. 104 relief appearances in 1 year out of 162 games, and threw a screwball.
That's hard on your arm.
Kept himself
hard. That is so against everything. That screw motion is just hard on you. Yeah.
Somehow he knew how to do it. But listen, you were talking about fade in Chicago. If people are putting money on the Cubs, they're nuts.
You watch that game? Did you see what Rizzo did?
Well, I'm watching them now. They're winning 8-2 today, but it's Arizona.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you guys about the Twins, right? You're trading Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson, Polanco, all these guys. Are the Twins a bet against it? Do you kind of put that asterisk on them right now?
They've always been a bet. I did a show. I thought it was with you, Rob, with somebody, and the team I was on was the White Sox, and there's two teams I was fading, and that was the Cardinals under, and I thought I thought the Twins were still living off their 2019 historic offensive. That they had no place to go but down from 2019 and what they did offensively, and last year they regressed, and this year was even worse. I expected it, and I don't think guys that I have been on the Twins one time this year. Not once. I've faded them. Not one time do I think I've been on them. I don't trust them. I don't trust any of their pitchers. None. Barrera, at this point in time, maybe. He's had a pretty good season. He's gotten better. He's pitched well, despite the fact that the team is about as inconsistent as the weather in Oklahoma.
And maybe they trade him, Tone. Maybe Jose Barrios is worth something to that team right now.
I think so. I do.
Yeah. Be a good piece for somebody to pick up. Jose Barrios. Josh Donaldson is sitting there. I don't know if people want Josh Donaldson.
Not unless you want a comedian. Unless you wanted somebody on the bench that can
in the parking lot
talk and smack. That's right. I mean, that's worth something, but I don't know how much you can pay him.
Yeah, it's just you try to evaluate these teams now. It's a lot of guesswork, which we're in the business of, a lot of guesswork, gambling.
Yes.
A lot of guesswork put in there. But you're looking for teams that maybe you want to get on or get off, and Cubs maybe one. Twins, I just think the sell-off is going to continue there, so maybe they're off. The Rangers have been miserable. The Rangers, are they going to win again? They're just absolutely horrendous right now. And yet you have Detroit, a team, I guess we have to give credit to A.J. Hinch, right? Holy cow.
Yeah. Well, 7 in a row, really. That's 7 games in a row they've won. I mean, this team is, yeah. Part of it is, the reason I really like Chicago was because they get to play 19 games against Kansas City, Cleveland, Texas. Not Texas, but horrible schedule. But they're like 4 games under 500. Detroit, is that right?
That's right.
I listen. I like that. I think the total 10.5 today is a little high for a couple guys. The pitchers in this game, Bubik, the young kid for Kansas City, hasn't pitched very well, but very capable left-handed against the Detroit team. There's nothing special against left-handers. Nothing, right? And Peralta, who's pitching. Listen, Peralta's this. The Kansas City had no place for him. They knew he's pretty much done. He's in the golden years and beyond in his career. And then he sat out last year, I think, or he got hurt. But since his early time, listen, what he's done recently, Peralta knows the Royals, and he will pitch with some emotion today in Kansas City. I like under 10.5. Let's just throw that out my free. Under 10.5 in that game, I think if I knew the umpire, I would be more passionate, or I would or get away from it. One of the two. But sooner. I really like that. Listen, I like that under 10.5 in that game. This left-hander for at least this kid for the Royals is capable now, and Any young kid like that against a pedestrian offense has an advantage. You and I have an advantage the first time we're gonna, one act like we're wild, one high and inside, and I got you right where I want you. You don't know me.
Interesting
you don't know
stuff.
what I'm going to throw. Huh?
Detroit has that pitcher, though, going tonight with the, .47 ERA?
No, it's Peralta.
Willie Peralta, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, listen, do you know Peralta won 17 games one year?
I didn't know that.
He won 17 games. And this is not his first rodeo, Peralta. Smart, savvy, capable, and again, the last couple of years he really struggled. Well, he was with the Royals when they were selling a couple of years, 3 years ago. There was just no place for him there. He didn't pitch that badly. However, I visit some sites, guys, that do some obscure metrics. Okay, and they're obscure. They're just kind of it's nothing. Nobody goes to that site. More of a fantasy site. Okay, they didn't even have Peralta. I kept asking them, why don't you have old notes on Peralta? We don't, and they didn't even have any notes on Peralta for 2 years.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is crazy.
Well, here's what we know about him right now. I'll just spit these things up because on this show today, Wager Talk today, I actually used this as a first 5 play. Detroit minus the half run, first 5 only. They're like minus a nickel at the time, but the last 5 starts, and I'm only using the 5-inning score, guys, because it's only a 5-inning bet. But the last 5 starts Peralta's made. After 5 innings, they lead Minnesota 5-0. They lead Minnesota 4-1. They lead Texas 1-0. They lead Cleveland 4-1. They lead Houston 2-0. So they're 5-0 first 5, his last 5 starts. John, those numbers you were talking about, in those 5 games, 0.79 whip, 0.34 ERA, 148 batting average against 218 on-base percentage. Here's what I find wrong with Chris Bubich, Tone, because I like pitches per inning, because pitches per inning tell me if you're struggling or if you're coasting.
Yeah.
This kid's last 5 starts, his average inning is 21 pitches an inning. That's a struggle. That's a severe struggle when you start doing the math, right? 21 is, I think, a good number. You probably want to keep it to 15 or 15 point whatever. But once you start getting 16 and higher, you can see these guys are struggling a little bit. His problem has been walks. To find guys with negative strikeout to walk ratios, this guy struck out 13 batters and walked 22 in his last 5 starts.
It's 22-14.
Right?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's totally ass backwards, right? And then 46 base runners in those 21 and a third. So, to me, I didn't want to play full game only because the Tigers used, Gregory Soto's been great for them closing games when he gets the opportunity. He's been really good this year, but he's thrown 3 days in a row. He's not throwing tonight. So I didn't want to get involved in innings 6 through 9, and maybe the Tigers have a lead after 5 and the Royals come back and win. But I thought first 5 was pretty cheap, minus a nickel for a team that's red hot, and the pitching current form was so polar opposite between these two guys that are going.
Yeah. Go back to mid-May when they called him up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He threw 6 shutout innings against the Brewers. 1 hit, walked 2, struck out 4 against Milwaukee, which I guess it's we've been talking about Milwaukee not being much of a lineup, or at least definitely then they didn't have they're missing a couple key guys, obviously. But he's 23 years old. He hadn't given up a run his first 3 starts at that point in the season. And I think he had a .96 ERA at that time. So, again, that's what you're going to get with young kids, with young pitchers, 23-year-olds that command is going to – right now command's an issue for him. That's why your pitch count's so high. And if you're not trusting your command typically, then you're not throwing your best pitches or your wipeout pitches the way you're supposed to, because you're aiming them instead of throwing them. So that's what you get with young kids.
Yep.
In essence, you want to get these young kids while they're hitting the wall before they come out of the wall, because when he comes out of it, he's talented enough to come out of it strong. While he's in the midst of this struggle, you probably want to be against him when you can. I just don't want to be against him full game, because that Detroit.
No, I don't blame you. I'm under 10.5. I'm telling you right now that I know this. I know I played against him one of those first 3 starts, because I know the Royals, I know their kids that the pitchers come up. Typically, almost all of them have command issues, but then most kids do. That said, right. I'm under 10.5. You're on Peralta. I like it. So Peralta throws a no-hitter through 5, and it's 0-0. Oh, we gotta have a lead, don't you? It's 1-0 Detroit. 1-0, you win, and I'll win. That's what I want.
And we meet at the window. That's what's great about this.
Is that your free pick for the show?
I've used it all over the place today, John.
I guess guess what?
Well, actually, I wasn't even. I was targeting this towards Mr. Finn.
Okay, then guess what? He's got the first 5 in Detroit, right. KC. I got under 10.5. Let me make sure that number's still available. And I'm showing that, in fact, it is still every single book, and it's 10. Most places are a little heavy to the over.
To the
10.5 over.
You get a good number.
But I don't know the umpire. I called my buddy. He said it's between 1 and 2 guys, and he said no, it's not Will Little, Tony.
We're rooting for Will Little. Man.
So you want me to give out my free pick, huh?
Yes.
Sure.
It's got to be. It has to be in the Detroit game, though.
Well, it's not Detroit, but it's the Olympics.
All right.
I didn't.
It's the Olympics.
I forgot they were on.
What's going on tonight besides softball and soccer?
Well, this event starts 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So it's a 200-meter individual medley for men. And what that is the first lap is butterfly. For those that don't know what that is, that's 2 arms, simultaneously out in front of you. Then it's 50 meters of backstroke, 50 meters of breaststroke, 50 meters of freestyle, and you're done. This
obviously is the nuclear waste swimming pool that they have there from the
it's because of that. It's supposed to be really fast. I guess the swimmers want to get out of it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, John's got jokes too.
Once in a while.
That was a good one.
Once in a while. Now this is an interesting event for many reasons. Personally, this is my best event when I was in throughout my swimming career, high school, college, and Michael Phelps dominated until Ryan Lochte locked up the world record, which has not been broken since July 28th, 2011, which was done in Shanghai, China. And he actually swam in the Olympic trials this year. He came in 7th, so they only take the first 2. But he swam for a long time, longer than Phelps even did. But the record right now is 1 minute 54 seconds flat. So that means 0.00, and they time out to the hundredths of a second. Because I was thinking how to describe this play and break it down, this betting opportunity, so that people would really kind of understand it. So he's not in the and he's the world record holder. So now we go in the top 25 all time. Michael Phelps is second in the same event. He lost to Lochte by 16 100ths of a second. One guy that is in it is a local boy.
Chinese guy or a Japanese guy?
Japanese guy. Dahlia Cito. Now, his fastest time ranks 8th on the all-time list. Now, he swam this in January of 2020, so it's been a while, but he swam a 1:55.55, which is obviously more than a second and a half slower than the world record, which doesn't sound like much, but in swimming, that is light years difference.
Yeah.
The guy that I really like in the bet here is a guy from Hungary, David Varasso, and he's 9-1. Cito is actually minus 235, and for the life of me, I have no idea why, because he's not even the fastest. He hasn't recorded the fastest time this year in the event. But because he's hometown, doesn't have to travel, all that stuff, that's the only reason I can give you that he's such a prohibitive favorite. And I do not think he's going to win. Chase Calise from the USA is plus 350. And he's a very, very good story. I'll let you guys read that on your own. That's a good story that he's in this. But this kid from Hungary, and Hungary, even when I was in high school and college, Hungary always had very good individual medley swimmers, both women and men. And for whatever reason, that was their sweet spot and their niche. And I do believe that this is a very good value at 9-1. This event will be, the heats will be tomorrow, starting at 6 a.m. And then it gets broken down from there. So then you get into another heat, and then finally on Thursday you have the semifinals, which is two heats. So they'll take the top 8 times out of those 2 heats. Most of them come out of that second heat because that's where the fastest swimmers are. And then on Saturday, I think it's around 10 o'clock at night, Japanese time, they will have the final. But it's important to get the bet in now because, as you can tell, by the time you get to Tuesday and Wednesday, it's not going to be 9-1 anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is one that I actually looked at. I didn't post it on Sports Memo, but I am going to have swimming and track and golf picks for the Olympics, at least. And in swimming, I think when you see a favorite, and this is the exception to the rule with this 200 individual medley race, the favorites are there for a reason, and it's very unlikely that some of these underdogs that you think might be like the third-ranked favorite has a chance to beat them. I would recommend going to the top times of the year so far, especially the last 6 months. And if one of those underdogs is not within a second, especially any event over 200 meters, it's not likely that they're going to beat the favorite. That 0.9 of a second in swimming is an eternity in a 100-meter race. Not so bad in 200-meter, but it's just very unlikely. I mean, look how many times Phelps won. He was the favorite. And it wasn't luck that he won. He was just that much better. But I love Hungary with individual medley swimmers, and I'll take a look at the women later. Maybe we'll talk about that on Monday.
All right, so let me ask you this real quick, the Reader's Digest version, because I was amazed. Last Olympics, 2016, whenever it was. As a kid, I saw Mark Spitz win 7 gold medals in the pool, right? And we all seen what Michael Phelps did. But nowhere, ever, have you seen anything like what Katie Ledecky does. How the hell is Katie Ledecky a full pool length better than anybody else in the world? It's crazy to watch those races she swims in because she's so much better. It's like it's her own race. And she still sets records without being chased, which is even more amazing, that you're swimming all by yourself, nobody to swim away from, and you're still going to set a world record. It's crazy. How's she so good?
Yeah, now I'll pull up the world progression here, and the world record 1,500 meters is her, which is the metric mile.
I can't even imagine what the odds on her are, minus 100,000. Because
it's going to be closer this year than usual, but again, she's going to be. It would take a miracle for her to lose. God forbid an injury or something before the race.
She's a New Jersey kid, right?
Yep. Now I'm looking at the. Okay, this is. I'm just scrolling through here.
I just remember in 2000 sitting there with my wife saying, these other swimmers aren't even in the picture. They're not even in the frame. This girl's by herself. How the hell does this happen?
So here we have the world record she set May 16th, 2018 at 15 minutes and 20 seconds, 48 100ths of a second. And that's just ridiculously fast. That's, you're going 30 laps of the pool, 50 meters a lap, and you're basically averaging just a shade over a minute every 100 meters. And that her consistency there is just unmatched. That's why she's so darn good. 2013, woman from Denver held the world record at 15:38, so she smashed the record by 18 seconds. And that, that probably won't happen again. They're swimming so fast now that the human body can only go that much faster. There has to be limits. Prior to Katie Ledecky, though, you might remember Janet Evans.
Yeah.
That was in the 80s and the 90s, and her world record at that time was 15:52, so almost 16 minutes. And that ranks as the 16th fastest 1,500 meters ever. So compare that to what Ledecky's swimming now at 15:20. That's 32 seconds. So that's more than a length of a pool that Ledecky would beat Janet Evans.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
I can't even make any money unless I put her in a trifecta or a super. I don't know how to bet this girl. She's gonna win, but I can't make any money.
I would suspect I haven't seen the odds for this event, but Ledecky hasn't swum 15:20. I think she swum in the 15:30s fairly recently. But there's another Chinese swimmer, and I can't pronounce her name. I never was aware of her until I started looking. But September of 2020, she swam at 15:45, ranking 7th all time. So it's going to be a race. There's a girl from Australia, Maddie Goff, is 15:46. She swam that June 15th of this past month. So if anybody was going to take down Ledecky, I would go with the Aussie. Again, Aussie swimmers are they're known for they're known for those distance races and
swimming away from sharks.
I guess.
Anybody who wants the Australian Tony Finn will book it.
And another American, Erica Sullivan, put her on the radar because this could be the changing of the baton potentially.
We're not. Do we have? Is baseball part of the Olympics?
It is.
Yeah. Yep.
I was curious about that. That's how much I follow. I'm telling you, I see those headlines, and I purposely avoid them because if I get caught up in that crap, I will start. I have lots of football work to do.
Absolutely.
I really can't afford. I know.
I'm going to talk one more thing about swimming. Okay. Since you guys seem not to be.
I wasn't going to mention on the air, but I do have an appointment with one of my bosses, the main boss, the big boss, here in a couple minutes. So I'm going to listen to you really quickly, and then I'm going to say.
Yeah, we can sign off after this.
Yeah.
Okay, men's 100-meter freestyle. This is like the 100-meter dash is in track. It's arguably the most prestigious event in both men and women's swimming. There is a 50-meter, but it's not the same.
That's my race.
Well, it's one lap.
No,
I'm telling you, you won't see anybody breathe. They'll dive in the water, and their next breath is after they hit the wall. But they only have to hold their breath for about 20 seconds max.
I can do that. I can't.
But the 100-meter freestyle, back in 1905, the world record was set by a guy from Hungary at 1 minute 5 seconds 8/10.
Damn Hungarians again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
So here we go through the progression here. Mark Spitz, 51.94 at the AAU Championships in Los Angeles, 1970. He then broke his own record, 51.22, at the Olympic Games in Munich, West Germany. And that's the Olympics, obviously, he won the 7. And then we come to Jim Montgomery was really the next American that really kicked butt in this event. And he was the first one to take it under 50 seconds. 49.99 the Olympic Games in Montreal, Canada. But a kid named Andy Cohen in 1975 at the Amateur Athletic Union Region 4 meet in Fort Lauderdale. He went to Pinecrest Academy in Florida. I saw him break the American record in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. And Rob Veno knows where that is.
Home of the Ryder Broncos.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, pretty much. He swam a 43.99 short course. So that means 25-yard pool. 43. Yes, 43.99. Now that's yards.
Well, that's annihilating the record.
No, that's yards. That's what I'm trying to point out. That was yards. Short course is usually yards, like when you see it on TV, like they're showing the ACC championships or something. That's yards. So meters is about 3 inches longer than a yard. Meters is longer, obviously. So it's about, about 9 meters. I guess it's like 7 meters longer than 100 yards. Or 7, 7.5 yards longer than 100 yards. That would be 100
Right.
meters. So that was the first American record I'd ever seen live. So then we get to the guy who's going to be the color guy for the swimming, Rowdy Gaines. In 1981, he swam a 49.36. Let's see here. Then Matt Biondi. I know all these names. You guys probably never heard of them in your life. But now, the record is 46.91, held by a guy from Brazil at the World Championships in 2009. So that is the progression of the world records. So some of these records have not been tested in a long time, and there have been rule changes. They had swimming suits back then that were, this had no resistance. If you remember, they almost looked like bodysuits and basically covered the entire body and were, they just had no resistance. So it would increase the speed automatically. But they're going to challenge this. Maybe not this Olympics, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of world records get challenged or even broken. And you can bet that pool is designed with technology and architecture. It's going to make it very, very quick. Like little things like, when you swim, you're like a boat, right? You create a wake. And that wake, those waves will bounce off the wall and come back. And just like the leader in the 100 meters, you'll see them when they do the turn, they go really deep. And the reason they go deep is to avoid the wake from the other swimmers that are next to them. And that's what the lane lines are all about. They're technologically advanced pieces of plastic and designed at a very, very high level to enhance speed. So that's my initial breakdown. And probably the first time ever in the history of WagerTalk or Sports Memo we did a breakdown of a swimming event.
Yeah, in Japan, discussing Hungarians and Brazilians, and everyone, I'm certain they're on the edge of their seats now, and they can't wait to see this effing swimming. When 6:30 in the morning.
Well, now you don't have to watch tomorrow. Tomorrow will be nothing.
Oh.
Those are just the heats. But you want to get the bet in now.
Live? Are they covering this Olympics live? Because I need you to say, no, Tony, they're not on TV. Don't even, you can't see anything. There's nothing worth watching.
I think they show everything and everything. Isn't
really
Peacock showing everything?
You're really a big help. I just told you not to tell me those things. That they're not on television. I can see nothing. To stay inside the football encyclopedia.
Bubble.
Yes.
Stay in there, Tony.
Well, you'll get to. I think you'll get to watch it live. This final because it's at 10 o'clock at night, Japan time. So that would be what
put
here?
It in Slack. Put the damn put the clip
video
in Slack. I'll watch
right.
it.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll send it to Chris and James and say, "Can you post this, please?"
And they can.
And I can always let's get like 5 or 10 little quips, and we'll have a game show here on the pub show. We'll put listen. Do you want like in Vegas they got the little horse tracks in the middle of casinos where they don't name the horses. You bet on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they tell you what the odds are. They don't tell you any past history. What swimmer do you want? Do you want that Hungarian? You want that Australian? You want that one? You want that one that typically hits a wall at 48 meters on a 50-meter race? That kind of thing.
Important.
I'll take the guy that's drinking heavily and has more body fat because it floats.
I want the Hungarian guy in the 200 individual medley to be losing.
Floaters.
To be losing at the 100-meter mark because breaststroke and into freestyle is by far the most important combination of that event.
So why do you want him losing?
Because the guys that win it, the women that win it, have tremendous breaststroke and freestyle ends.
Who do you want to win?
When I swam it, even at the higher levels, I never was leading at the end of 2.
Well, I don't think John Liberace Ryan is going to win this race. Who do you like to win this race?
The Hungarian.
The Hungarian, okay.
Yes.
And you want him to be losing? After
David Verrazzo. It's Verrazzo.
We're going to fade him first 5. We're going to play him full game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, and that's because Jansen's not involved with the swim.
In swimming live betting on Verazzo.
That would be. Well, I don't know if you could do that, but that is interesting. I think I'd be all over it. I'd be all over it.
On Wager Talk today on Wednesday, Andrew McGinnis taught us how to bet Olympic volleyball, and I mean he had me sold on these under-overs in volleyball, and these countries that are good. And that kid's a volleyball coach. I had no clue.
Well, didn't he play soccer too? Didn't he give me some trouble because I said soccer players they're actors. They're the softest. Those dives, those flops the soccer players take are the most atrocious. They're an atrocity to the sports.
I heard rumor that the Lakers actually trained with the one soccer team last year before the NBA season started.
It's atrocities. It's just, listen, I think you should be thrown out of the game.
I think so too.
For flopping.
There you go.
No autopsy, no foul. No yellow card, no red card, unless it's severe.
I mean, really, listen. But he got a little angry with me, or not angry. He was upset because he's a soccer player, and these guys act like they've been shot with like a 30 caliber bullet. They go down, and it's like, and they barely got nicked. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how you could be a competitive athlete. I was one of those guys. Listen, you never let them see you sweat, and if you were hurt, you certainly didn't tell anybody you were hurt until you got into the locker room, and then you started begging for opiates. That's the only time you ever showed you were hurt. You certainly didn't do it on the field.
Nope.
Well, yeah. Before we sign off here, I'll just commend Andrew McGinnis on his knowledge. He was pretty in depth on Olympic volleyball.
So who do I bet on?
I have it written down somewhere, Tone. I'll put it in Slack for you.
Send it to me too.
As he was talking.
Because if I make a bet,
I think he's betting the Poland match. If I remember right, the Poland match under 141.5, which I think is the total amount of games.
We haven't had to throw him under the bus on Twitter yet. So, but you better tell him it's better be a winner because Finn's betting on it, and you.
Right. Well, that's what we expect out of him. We expect winners. He knew the names of the strikers and everything, these Polish names. It was a pretty good segment. But that's just to John's point of we babbled about swimming here for the last 20 minutes, and we also babbled about volleyball on Wednesday. So
next week or Monday, it'll be highlight.
And it's then I'm the expert. Let's go. Let's go.
I love it.
All right, man.
All right, well, guys.
Good weekend.
Yeah, and, you too, and thanks for your time as always. It's always great on a Friday.
Yeah. Tonight I'll mention on the Gabe the crazy show, the Morency show. I'll mention something about betting over-unders in Olympic volleyball, and wait till your swimmer is behind in the first two legs of before you go.
The 200 IM. 200 IM.
Tell him his Dodger fan buddy Rob Veno wants to know why Bellinger doesn't hit eighth in that lineup.
I'll bring it up because he's mentioned you before. I love Rob Veno. Gabe loves Rob Veno. That's what he said. I love Rob Veno. I love him.
I wonder if we can parlay volleyball and swimming.
Or maybe discus or hammer throw. I'll do anything with Katie Ledecky. I'm just looking for something to parlay her with.
I'll check out those odds. I'm sure it's going to be pretty steep, but I mean that's if there was ever a thing called a lock.
Ledecky. Ledecky's a pretty cool. I like that name. Something about Ledecky. What is it?
It sounds Irish.
There's got to be a Russian javelin thrower you know about, Tone, that I can bet on here.
Yes, well, I mean my cousin, but she's throwing it. Or boyfriends, they won't. She just throws, harpoons them and brings them back in.
Perfect.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Here, John.
All right, we'll get us out of here. So for Tony Finn, Rob Veno, myself, the Predictive Playbook, WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and Manny's Irish Pub. May all the wins be yours.